And you are live, Joe.
All right.
There you go.
All right, we are live. That's great. Yep, Danny's saying hi.
Photobomb.
That's right. That's good. Well, we are in our third session of David, and I hope you've enjoyed our small group setting where we've had a chance to maybe talk a little bit about each of the characteristics of David. Who can tell me one thing that they've maybe remembered from the first or second discussion about David?
His patience,
What is it?
his patience,
Okay, David is patient. In what way, Gary, is David patient?
and his waiting to actually step in and be king.
Okay,
He was already nominated, and he could have walked in anytime he wanted to, but he waited on the Lord to anoint him.
okay. All right, so David was anointed. We read that in, I think, our first or second lesson. What about the heart of David? What do we know about the heart of David from our first lesson? How's David's heart different than Saul's heart?
David was a lot more humble then,
Okay.
even than Saul was.
Okay. What's the big distinction about those two characters on how they act in the setting? You've got one as king, and then you've got one as the little shepherd boy.
One wanted to stay in power, and one accepted his position. And one wanted to stay in power and do whatever it took to appease the people around him to stay in power.
At what cost was that, Gary? What did he have to do to appease people?
Well, he didn't, basically, he was a Hebrew, the ceremonies and all. He didn't abide by what God's law and will was.
Okay, so what does that make him?
Someone against God.
Okay, when we are against God, when we're doing things against God, what would be a good characteristic you would call him? If we have a child that does things against us, how would you describe that child? He's what?
Disobedient.
He's disobedient, right? What about David in this example? What do we have David? Is he obedient? He disobedient? What do we know about him?
David was a man after God's own heart, and so he was obedient and faithful to what God wanted him to do.
Okay, so when we are obedient, willing to do, willing to wait, willing to do whatever our Father puts us in, then we can say we're obedient. And part of that is what makes a servant's heart. Let's look at David. David's name is here. His name is the Dalet Bob Dalet. That is, when we read that in the text, that means that you would read it as Dode. And a dode is a beloved.
David.
David. And so, and that's where you get the Dalet, you know, in the old Hebrew script. You get the two things, and that's where you get your star of David from. It is his name. David, or the beloved one of his father. Who named David?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Who gave David his name?
It'd be his father, wouldn't it?
His father named him.
Sure did, Jesse.
Now, what does that tell us about Jesse? Jesse's had 4 sons that we know of. He has 8, but we know the names of 4, right? And it lists it for a very specific reason. Jesse's name, Yishi, means he is a gift, or God gives gifts. And he names his first son Eliav, which means God is my father. And then the next one is Abinadab, which means the father is noble. And then the Shema means heard. So in a sense, Jesse is this figure who is godlike, who is noble, and when he speaks, he's heard. And he gives a special name to his youngest son. That means beloved. And so in a sense, David is the beloved of who? Of his what?
Of his father.
Of his father. Any other young sons that were beloved by their father in the Bible?
Jesus was, yeah.
Oh, Jesus was. Who else?
Certainly.
We have Joseph, right? In the Testament, the youngest, Joseph. Okay. Well, let's look. So we talked about the servant's heart in our first lesson, and the importance of obedience, and then too, what we can learn in those shallow places while everything, the world seems to be going on around us. All of these things are happening, and yet David is where he's supposed to be. And that is shepherding the flock. So, Gary mentioned, Gary, what was the result? What was the wage of David's faithful, obedient heart? What was the result of that? Yeah, what was it? Was he rewarded because of that? What happened to David?
As his patience was his reward to become king.
Okay, so he became king. Did he just decide on his own to become king?
No, he's patient with God.
Was that just any process that happened?
No,
What was that process that happened? What happened? How did he become king? Tell us that story. What's the story? How did he become king anyway?
Didn't he slay a giant?
Well, was he the king after that? I mean, is that the prerequisite to become a king? You got to kill the giant, or was he king before that?
He was king before, but he was not on his throne. He had been appointed.
He had been anointed, right? Okay. So the result of his heart, can we say the result of his heart is that?
He was chosen.
Yeah, well, he was chosen. That's right. That's kind of part of the anointing, wasn't it? So when he became anointed, so he's the anointed one. Now, he's anointed one of God, right? We can't say that he is the chosen king, because who chose the king? Who is the king this time?
Well, Saul is.
Saul,
Samuel's the prophet.
right?
He's the one who installs them, if you would put that way.
Okay, and who chose, Kaylee, who chose Saul to be king? Okay, in a sense, he had to put a stamp of approval on it, didn't he? To appease the people. But the anointed of God, when he was anointed, what happened? The Spirit of God came upon him. All right, so it's a little bit of the review. Except for one thing, I remember when I came in Sunday, I sat down and I looked up, and someone's putting those quizzes up on the board. All right, is that David? And Danny, you putting those quizzes up there. And the first thing I did, I sat down and I looked up there, and it said A, B, C, or D. Anointed one means what? You remember?
I don't remember.
Does
that.
anybody remember that? And I looked at that. I was like, anointed one means what? It was one of them pre-made quizzes that was up there scrolling through.
I did. I put that up there, but I don't remember what the answer
It's a
was.
Messiah, right?
Yeah.
What does a Messiah do?
Chosen one.
Messiah is a king.
Yes.
He's a king, could be king. There's several meanings. The Meshiach, the Mem, Shin, Hate has a lot of different meanings. Those letters, combination meanings. But anointed one, he's kind of like, it means like a Messiah or a king. All right, well, let's go to our story. Our scripture is in 1 Samuel chapter 17, and we have this encounter that we all know and love. David and Goliath. Right. We'll put some characteristics of Goliath over here, Goliath. Goliath's a big dude. He has a big family. I watched one YouTube video about Goliath, and one scholar says, yeah, he had this giantism disease that made him tall and all this stuff, and he couldn't see very well. And I thought, well, it's fun to maybe think about those type of things, but it's not the case. If you look, was Goliath the only big person in his family? How do we know that? Because why else?
We're told he had, was it 4 or 5 other brothers?
He has brothers, and they were all big. So that tells us something about it. It wasn't just a disease that made him big. He comes from the big people. Those are the giants. These are 9-foot tall men. And he is a Philistine, and the Philistines were known for their military. And so Goliath is this champion of a man. Let's look at verses 17, 1 through 4, and we'll see if we can come up with some characteristics of Goliath. Anybody want to read 17, 1 through 4?
I'll read.
Okay. All right, Jessica.
Now the Philistines gathered their forces for war and assembled at Soka in Judah. They pitched camp at Ephes between
Damin?
Soka and Azekah. Saul and the Israelites assembled and camped in the valley of Elah and drew up their battle line to meet the Philistines. The Philistines occupied one hill and the Israelites another, with the valley between them. A champion named Goliath, who was from Gath, came out of the Philistine camp. His height was 6 cubits and a span.
Okay. All right, so this Philistine giant, to put this geographically, about 18 or 20 miles southwest of Jerusalem is the Valley of Elah. And if you go on down the valley, you get to the land of the Philistines, which is on the coastal Mediterranean area there. Then you have Gath, and so Gath's about, the Valley of Elah is halfway between Gath and Jerusalem, 18, 20 miles, and so you kind of get the idea. They're situated down there. You have one army on one ridge and another army on another. What do we know about Goliath in these verses? What is he? In verse 4, what is Goliath? Champion, right? He's a champion. He's not just any warrior, he's a champion. Goliath, he's a champion.
He's known by everybody.
He's
Famous
He's very famous.
or infamous.
Would anybody know about that kind of guy right there, right? I mean, the stories would have been vast, and the legend, right? I mean,
Especially among the Philistines.
among everybody. Everybody would fear that, right? Everybody knows the big guy. I mean, if you're playing basketball and you was probably in the SEC 25 years ago and you had to go up against Shaquille O'Neal, I mean, it wasn't like you walked out in the court and you were shocked. Who's this guy? I mean, everybody knew about Shaquille O'Neal. I mean, think about the giant. So he is well known. He is very well known. I think that's important. I'll write that down. He is a champion. Now we have some characteristics about him. Let's go ahead and look at those characteristics. We have from verse 4 all the way down through 7. 4 through 7. Let's find out. Let's get some good descriptive writing here. Verse 4 through 7. Any takers?
Okay.
All right.
And there came out from the camp of the Philistines a champion named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. He had a helmet of bronze on his head, and was armed with a coat of mail. And the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of bronze. And he had bronze armor on his legs, and a javelin of bronze slung between his shoulders. The shaft of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron. And the shield bearer went before him.
Shield bearer.
Shield bearer. Yeah, they probably had a parade as they was walking through that valley, right? You know, probably had flag bearers and shield bearers, and I bet he was got
Music playing.
beating drums. How confident do you think they were in battle?
Overconfident.
Yeah, overconfident, right?
They never thought they were gonna lose.
They were pretty, yeah. If you had the champion from Gath, right? He comes from the line of the giants, right? And he's not some weak guy. The armor he would have wore would have been 100 and some pounds by itself. I mean, this guy would have been physically fit, a specimen among specimens. He would have struck fear in everyone, and we know that's the case because the text tells us so. But we have some godly numbers here to describe this guy. These 6 and 1s and 5s, they represent something. Those are in there for very distinct meanings, and it gives us an image, and we won't dive into those, but it's very descriptive, and it's important. One time maybe if we get time at the end, we can dive into more of what those numbers of those weights and those things are symbolic of and what they mean. But the main point is that he is a champion, he is feared, he is very well known. All right. How does he, Goliath, and David, what's some contrast between those two? Are they similar? Are they different?
Very different.
All right, that's how they different.
Because David was not well known. He was not considered a champion. And he was not feared.
Okay. So he is definitely not feared. How do we know he wasn't feared?
Because the Bible tells us.
Okay, he just wasn't feared. He wasn't well known. How do we know he wasn't well known according to our last lesson?
He was a shepherd.
He was just a shepherd.
Shepherd. And who kind of neglected him in our last lesson that we had?
I mean, his own father said he was just a little runt, basically. That
Yeah.
He's not very physically stature at all.
He didn't even bring him to the party, right? When they was going to anoint somebody.
Yeah.
He's not known at all. His father doesn't even. It's not that his father don't. His father loves him.
Yeah.
You know. But the idea is that hey, he's not well known at all. Okay. One image though that we get, if you look in, and this is common. We won't dive into a whole lot of this, but we might, if someone has a comment. Look in verse 5. Bronze helmet on his head, and he was clothed in armor, scale armor. We see this imagery right here, right? There's an image of something vicious, something feared, clothed in armor, right?
Impenetrable.
What is it?
Impenetrable. He's not going to be
Impenetrable.
beaten.
Not going to be
Doesn't
beaten.
look like it.
Is there any animals that might describe something like armadillo? Feared.
Rhinoceros.
You can run over those running. What else has scales?
Fish.
Fish, right? We ain't scared of no fish. What is it?
Snake.
Snakes. Snake. He's like a 9-foot tall image of like a serpent quality appearance. Because he can strike. What can he strike with? It's javelin. What do you do with the javelin he's got in his sword? Right? You're striking your enemies from a long distance away, right? I mean, if he's got this spear and it's 8 foot long, and you know, could David run up and even begin to even attempt to wrestle with this giant? He doesn't have a shot. He could strike him 8 foot away with this spear. I seen on a archaeology site that they had discovered some of those bronze spears, and they said, well, those were decorations back 2,000 years ago. But there were spearheads that were like 5 pounds in that area close to Gath. Imagine that, 5 pound spearhead.
I Googled it and it said that his could have weighed as much as 26 pounds just for the spearhead.
Yeah,
That's huge.
that's huge.
So how big and heavy would the
The rod
wood part be,
Yeah,
or whatever it's made out of?
yeah. Ain't nobody getting close to that guy.
No.
Because if he does, he's going to strike, right? It's all over. Let's go down to verse 8. And let's read 8 through, well, let's go through 8 through 11. Kelly, you got it? Okay.
Goliath stood and shouted to the ranks of Israel, "Why do you come out and line up for battle? Am I not a Philistine? And are you not the servant of Saul? Choose a man and have him come down to me. If he is able to fight and kill me, we will become your subjects. But if I overcome him and kill him, you will become our subjects and serve us." Then the Philistine said, "This day I defy the armies of Israel. Give me a man and let us fight each other." On hearing the Philistines' words, Saul and all the Israelites were dismayed and terrified.
Yeah. Who's this a pretty good deal for? Jackson, who's this a good deal for? Philistines or Israel?
Philistines,
Okay, for the Philistines. How come?
because they got 9 foot dude against not known to be right now a regular man, and it's a pretty good chance they're gonna win.
Yeah, not just any man. He can't even wear his own king's armor, right?
Yeah.
And so he's at least short in stature, right? So this is a pretty good deal for the Philistines. What happens if Goliath is victorious? What happens?
Winner takes all.
Winner takes all. So Israel becomes what?
Slave to the Philistines.
Slave to. Were the Philistine gods enemies, or were they God's people, or what were they?
God's enemies.
Okay, slaves to. All right. So it sounds like it's a pretty good deal for the Philistine. Any taker on Israel? Any Israelites excited about this?
They were all pretty
Yeah. So what do we know about Israel? They were what? Yeah, they were shivering. They were scared to death, weren't they?
Yeah.
He hadn't even used his spear yet.
Didn't have to. What else did he do? Is that all he done? Does it just look bad?
I think so.
What do bullies do?
Intimidate.
Intimidate. Intimidate.
I just got a weird question.
Okay.
Why didn't the Philistines move against Israel at one time? In other words, instead of stalling on one hill, because you know the area that I'm talking about, it's small.
Mm-hmm.
So you can just about smell each other's breath.
Sure.
That's how close they were to each other. So why didn't one move against the other?
That's good. That's a good question.
Because you know the area is small.
Oh, well, I would say, well, yeah, whoever moves first is at a disadvantage. Because
They're going down the hill and they'd be,
you got to come up the hill to
Right.
the other side. And so you just wait.
right.
You know, if they're coming up the hill, we're going to launch arrows and everything, and you're trying to
Told
go.
about that.
So, yeah.
That's why he describes, they was on a hill,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
facing each other.
Yeah.
With a valley in the middle.
Yeah, it's about 400 or 500 yards long, I would say. Yeah. So yeah, that's why I would think whoever's coming up the hill is at a great disadvantage.
Military wise.
Yeah. And so I think they're waiting for the first move.
Of course,
So-
why waste a bunch of people if you got a champion?
Yeah, well, it's just a good deal. We'll just end this right here. And Israel, and I think they're probably taunting them to get them to move.
Well,
right?
sure they are.
They'll move first, and so he's intimidating. He taunts. What does he say? Does he say anything yet about their? Let's see here in verse. I defy the rank in verse 10. I defy the ranks of Israel. So he hasn't done that yet. So okay, we're gonna wait. All right. So now let's go back to David in verse 12 through 16. Any takers on that one?
Now David was the son of the Ephrathite of Bethlehem in Judah, whose name was Jesse, and he had 8 sons. And Jesse was old in the days of Saul, advanced in years among men. The 3 older sons of Jesse had gone after Saul to the battle, and the names of his 3 sons who went to the battle were Eliab, the firstborn, and the second to him Abinadab, and the third Shammah. David was the youngest. Now the 3 oldest followed Saul, but David went back and forth from Saul to tend his father's flock at Bethlehem. The Philistine came forward morning and evening for 40 days and took a stand.
So we have a time period, right? So this taunting didn't happen just once or twice, right? What do you think the more... Sammy, have you ever been on a team that's got beat? I mean lost a lot. You lost 4 or 5 games in a row. What are you thinking that next game you go into? Not going to win. Not going to win. Defeat has the ability to really lose your confidence,
Yep.
doesn't it? Is Israel confident? They're not, right? Israel, they're not confident at all.
I think they're trusting Saul as wavering.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, their trust is in the right place or the wrong place. Wrong place. And so Israel, yeah, they're not confident. 40 days, Sammy, they've lost. Every day that giant comes out and challenges them, and what do? Yeah, do you think they even said anything? They probably just looked down at the hill and, probably wondered. Probably, who was they looking to do something? Who were they looking for to do something?
They're looking for a savior.
Yeah, they looked for a savior, and who should have that been? The king, Saul, right? So who else is scared? It ain't just the military men, it's who? I mean, who's the tallest of all of them, right? Who was the mighty of all those guys that were there? It was Saul was the king. Saul's unwilling. He is unwilling to take that step. But here we go. In comes the beloved of his father in verse 17 through 19. Let's have another volunteer for that, 17 and 19. Any takers?
Then Jesse said to David his son, "Take now for your brothers an ephah of roasted grain and these 10 loaves, and run to the camp to your brothers. Bring also these 10 cuts of cheese to the commander of their 1,000, and look into the welfare of your brothers, and bring back news of them. For Saul and they and all the men of Israel are in the valley of Elah, fighting with the Philistines."
Okay. So what's David's task here?
He was a servant to his father.
Okay. So does David listen? David always listens. That's why he's the beloved. So David, what's the task?
Food bearer.
Go take take your brother some bread.
Yeah, food bearer.
Okay, yeah. Go take your brothers, right, some bread. And so he does so because his father tells him to. He also says to do what?
I got a question.
Bring back news.
Okay.
You probably know this. He says corn in here, but they only had wheat and other grains, but I don't remember them having corn.
Now they wouldn't have corn. Corn's not a corn is developed in Latin America probably 1,000 years ago.
And their basic diet was grains, which was bread.
It'd been barley or spelts or wheat.
Wheat.
Yeah.
And wheat was a luxury. It was rare. It was rare. One of those rare things.
Yeah. It's one of those ancient grains like that. Yeah. That's kind of why Danny uses that old King James version.
Oh, this is the New American Standard,
Okay.
and it calls it roasted grain.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that could be any several grains.
A lot of people don't understand that their primary diet was bread.
Well, the whole point is not what it was. The whole point was he had a task and he was
That's the
obedient
whole
to
point.
it.
That's all. That's the whole point right there. He's tasking you to take bread to your brothers,
Yep.
and like Shirley said, to give a report.
Yep.
Shirley, you have got some brothers and sisters, right? Were you ever reporting on their behavior to your parents?
Absolutely not.
Never
Because I
did.
went back to the barn.
Did anybody here have a lot? Donnie, you had a lot of brothers. Did you ever report to your parents about your brother's behavior?
Well, they got trouble.
Who did it get you in trouble with?
Your brothers.
It's your brothers, right?
Yes, go see sometime.
Your brothers, right? That's always a fun thing. So when David shows up, this ain't the first go around with that. Because are they happy to see him? His brothers? Let's find out. All right, let's look at 19 through 23.
They are with Saul and all the men of Israel in the valley of Elah, fighting against the Philistines. Early in the morning, David left the flock in the care of a shepherd, loaded up and set out, as Jesse had directed. He reached the camp as the army was going out to its battle position, shouting the war cry. Israel and the Philistines were drawing up their lines, facing each other. David left his things with the keeper of supplies, ran to the battle lines, and asked his brothers how they were. As he was talking with them, Goliath, the Philistine champion from Gath, stepped out from his lines and shouted his usual defiance, and David heard it. Whenever the Israelites saw the man, they all fled from him in great fear.
Okay, so day 40 appears. Of course, that's significant. So we have day 40, and David shows up. He checks on his brother, and again, let's go ahead. Let me read down through 24. We'll skip down through there. Let's see what time it is. Yeah, we're out of time. All right, so when all the men of Israel saw the man, they fled from him and were greatly afraid. They were greatly afraid. Have you seen this man who's coming up? Surely he's coming up to defy Israel. And it will be that the king will enrich the man who kills with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Israel. So if Israel can be victorious, the man will make his house free. Make Israel's house free. And then verse 26, David spoke to the men who were standing by him. What will be done for the man who kills a Philistine, takes away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine from Gath, that he would taunt the armies of the living God? The people answered with him in accordance to the word, thus it will be done for the man who kills him. Now we get to where we was heading, verse 28, the brothers. Now Eliab, the oldest brother, when he heard he was speaking to the men, anger burned against David, and he said, why have you come down? And with whom have you left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know your insolence and the wickedness of your heart, for you have come down in order to see the battle. Right? So, is that true? Was that why he was there?
No, he was there by the order of his father,
So, what's that mean? He was what?
obedient to his father.
He was obedient, but
But he was ridiculed by his brother, probably the other ones.
was what they saying was true?
No,
When you
I don't think so.
say something about someone else that's not true, what have you done? You made a what?
Well, you made a serious error. It's a lie.
False accusation.
False accusation.
Okay.
So there he is, falling under that.
Okay. Falsely accused. He's falsely accused.
Sounds familiar too.
He's falsely accused. And people answered him. Let's see, let's go down to, let's see, the wickedness of your heart. Was David's heart wicked?
No.
Isn't that interesting? Accused.
He was an innocent person, just doing what his father directed him to do.
Would anyone describe his heart as, you ever been in someone challenged your character that really offended? You knew that wasn't true, but it just kind of pierced your heart, you know?
Especially from his brother.
From his brother, right? Falsely accused. The one thing that made David king was the one thing that he's accused of having the opposite, complete opposite, a wicked heart.
Wasn't that how the devil works?
Interesting. It is how Satan works, isn't it? If you tell somebody something like that long enough, they may start to believe it, right? You tell a kid that, it may shape the course of their life, right? You tell a kid something, you know, you're dumb, and then kid goes to school, and what's he think?
I'm dumb.
Yeah. David says, what have I done? Was not that just a question? And when he turned away, to him another one said the same thing, and the people answered the same thing as before. Who else is throwing out accusations?
Take your pick.
Daily, right?
Yeah.
We have daily accusations of Goliath. We have these repetitive accusations, all of them against Israel and against Jesse's son, the beloved one, the one with the pure heart. Let's look at, let's kind of go through, let's fly through these right here. Verse 31 through 32. When the word of David spoke, they were heard. Then they told him to Saul, and he sent for him. And David said, Saul, let no man's heart on account of him. Your servant will go fight the Philistine. Saul said to David, you're not able to go against this Philistine and fight against him because you're a youth. He's been a warrior since his youth. There's a contrast. Here again, you can't do that, David. You're just a young boy. He's been a champion for his whole life. And David said to Saul, and this is what our second lesson we talked about. Your servant was tending his father's sheep when a lion and bear came and took the lamb from the flock, and I went after him. I attacked him, I rescued it from its mouth. When he rose up against me, I seized him in his beard and struck and killed him. Your servants killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them. Since he has taunted the armies of the living God, David said, the Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will deliver me from the hand of the Philistine. Saul said to David, go, may the Lord be with you. All right. Where did David learn to become king?
Out there in the wilderness on the job.
He learned to be king out in the pasture, right? Out with the sheep. And where's he going to learn how to defeat this enemy?
Protecting the sheep.
Out there protecting the sheep. God had placed this task. And the idea of last lesson was, you know, you might feel like you're in a menial task or something's not important, but God could be preparing you for something super great in your life. And so whatever he says here, it convinces the king Saul. Shaul is going to say, okay. And on verse 38, so Saul gives him his armor, the bronze helmet on his head. Who else had a bronze on his head?
Goliath.
Goliath did, didn't he? He clothed them with armor. Who else was clothed in armor?
Like,
Okay. David girded his sword and his armor, and he tried to walk. He hadn't tested them. Or he couldn't walk him. And so David said to him, I cannot go with these. I've not tested them. What about Goliath? He ever tested his armor?
Oh, yeah.
Or he lived in that stuff. Took his stick in his hand. Took a stick in his hand and chose for himself 5 smooth rocks from the brook. Where's that brook at? Is it up on the hill?
down the valley.
It's down the valley, right? What's that mean? David didn't even take his weapon until he got down there before the giant, right? He didn't take any weapons with him down there. But he took sticks, it's going to say. Let's see here. So he had a sling in his pouch. Verse 41. Now the Philistine came and approached David, the shield bearer in front of him. When the Philistine looked and saw David, he had disdain for him because he was handsome, ruddy, he was youthful. And then he says to David, am I a dog that you come to me with sticks? So what he sees with David is sticks. How many sticks would David have had?
You were just at his staff.
But it said sticks, right? Did David ever write about sticks in any of his songs? We talked about that Psalm 23, right? You're what? Yeah, they comfort and guide me, don't they? When he's facing this enemy, he's got his shepherd hook, he's got his rod, he's got his staff, because that's how God prepared him, and that's what he takes into this battle. But yet along the way, when he gets down there, he picks up these 5 stones. It says here, if we go down, Philistine said, David, come on, I will give your flesh to the birds. And in verse 45, David said to Philistine, you come at me with a sword, a spear, a javelin, because he's going to strike him. I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the army of Israel, who you taunted. And this day, Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I will strike you down and remove your head from you. And I will give the dead bodies of the army and the Philistines, you're to the birds and wild beasts of the earth, and everyone will know on earth that there is a God in Israel. And that all of the assemblies may know that the God does not deliver by sword or spear, but the battles of the Lord's. And he will give you into our hands. And it happened when the Philistines rose and came and drew near to David. Did David tremble in fear? What did David do here? What does it say that he done?
Ran quickly toward the battle line.
What was Israel not doing?
Quickly running toward the battle line.
Yeah, he ran.
They were running the other way, so to speak.
Liam, if you're running quickly towards battle, what's that tell us?
Ready to fight.
Is he scared?
No.
Not scared, is he?
He might be, but we'll do it anyhow.
And what happened would have been, the Philistine would have froze. because he wouldn't have been ready for that charge. And he would have frozen in an open target, kind of worked for David's advantage.
Yeah, okay, so little strategy there. Gary says catch him off guard. But he doesn't get up close enough to get struck. Well, he probably stands back. Shirley talked about that, those slingshotters. What do we know about those slingshotters, Shirley?
They go a long way and they can be very deadly.
Very deadly.
And he had used them on the thing. He knew what he was doing. He knew where to put it.
Yeah.
So, no doubt in his mind, he was going to kill him.
You know how these companies track everything. I've been getting all these videos of slingshotters, you know, on my phone's popping up now because of our discussion, which is neat. And man, you watch them guys and they can throw a rock 50 yards and hit a target like this. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, it'll just disintegrate those rocks and those targets. Unbelievable. And they don't sling them, they throw them. It's a one and then a whip. And it just, it's crazy. It's really neat. Highly deadly. I thought before, I was like, man, ain't no way, you know, you slingshot and hit somebody that. But after watching those slingers, they'll throw a rock plumb through a cast iron frying pan at about 30 yards. And that's unbelievable. So, David had a good advantage there. And so what does David do? Pulls out a rock, and what happens? Where does it go? Right in it. Right, sinks it right in his forehead, and that's it. Okay, so David sinks this rock. Then what's he do, Sammy, after that?
He takes his sword, Goliath's sword, and cuts his head off.
Yeah. Why does he do that for?
Because he said he was going to take his head off.
Yeah. And then what's he do with that head? Takes it somewhere.
That, you know,
Okay, it's right. It's at the end of the story. He takes it into Jerusalem. That's his trophy. Because that's what the beloved does. Takes the head of this serpent. So, let's see here. Let's summarize kind of what because I know we're past time, and that's why I was trying to hurry. Let's summarize what you guys come up with about the beloved of God. He's the beloved of his Father who's anointed, the anointed one of God. He's going to face this well-known champion that no one can defeat, who's feared, who has the appearance of a serpent, who wants to enslave God's people. And he's very intimidating. And his father says, go into that land and take bread to your brothers and report back of your brothers to me. And when he does, when he goes to that land, he gets falsely accused. But he runs quickly into the fight, sinking the rock into this serpent-like giant, and he crushes the head of Israel's enemy, who's scared to death and who is unable to defeat the giant on their own. Who are we in this story of David and Goliath? If we had to pick anybody, who are we like?
Probably Israel.
We're like Israel. How are we like Israel? Because what can't we do?
Well, we can't do anything without the king.
Okay? And that's right. We can't do anything without the anointed one.
Yeah.
Was anybody in Israel able to face this giant? How come? He's too what? He's too strong. Right? The giant's too strong. He's too powerful. Right? He can strike us from any distance. But there's one that could. Right? And what's his name? His name is Jesus, right? Jesus struck, right? He's in the business of striking down our greatest enemy, death, Satan, who wants to make us slaves to him. But Christ ran quickly into battle. Of course, he was accused by his brothers.
Falsely.
Yep, falsely. And put himself on the cross to defeat that final enemy. And what did it say in Genesis would happen? He will, right, when Eve failed, yeah, Yeah, he'll strike your heel, but you'll
Bruise
do
his
what?
head.
You're gonna crush his head.
Yep.
And so when David takes that in to Jerusalem, in the God city, he's showing it's a prophetic thing of what's gonna happen in the future. One and one of God is gonna come, crush the head of our enemy.
That would be the beginning of why Saul started his hate towards David, wouldn't it?
Yep.
Could have been.
Yep. That's it. That's it.
What I like about this, Joe, is that sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never harm me. You ever heard that saying?
Mhm.
But it was sticks and stones in the name of God that got rid of Goliath.
Hmm. Not the ideal weapons of battle, but
You know? But God was in there. It was God's doing. And that's what David said right there at the end.
yeah, that's right. That's exactly.
But Saul had moved away from God, it seems like, and his departure from that left him open because now he had no protection. God was his protector when he was first named as king, but he moved away from God, and that weakened him, and then that weakness shone on his people.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. It bled right through. Every one of his soldiers. Wasn't any of them going out to face that, was it? That's true. Anybody have any comments or thoughts about? Yeah.
Not really a thought, it's a question. So Goliath had a bronze helmet, right? Wouldn't helmets have like protection like right here? So he like he said, like in the middle it was impenetrable, so maybe did like God make it penetrable? Like, did he remove something?
I don't think that he would have had his. I don't think he took his helmet off. It said it sunk into the forehead. When I would say it was. He probably thought it was impenetrable.
Well, they all did.
Yeah, I mean, that was just, obviously, and they thought that he would never die too. That's why they championed that. When he failed, they would have all just, and they were in dismay because that's impenetrable there, and that, when I watched that guy in that sling 30 yards away throw through a cast iron skillet, he threw a rock through a cast iron skillet, put a hole in it like this.
Well, I was sitting here thinking, if you don't mind my interrupting,
Yeah, you-
I didn't mean to interrupt. But being a shepherd
Mm-hmm.
is not just guiding sheep around rocks and hills and
Yeah, that's true.
another job is the protection of the herd
Absolutely.
from what? Predators,
Yes.
such as wolves
Yeah.
or any other kind of predator.
The lion, the
So
bear.
it would behoove a person like David to become, like you're saying, extremely good with that sling and extremely accurate with that sling and the rock
Yeah.
to attack those wolves from a distance.
From a
Instead
distance. Yeah, they can't. You're not going to
So-
wait till it got its in.
And that being said, from what he's asking, is if you can sling a stone that far or that fast, that accurate,
Mhm.
and it doesn't say how big the stones are, they could be this big, or they could have been,
Yeah,
dangerous, lethal size.
they would be. Yeah.
So I would say with the amount of force and the amount of accuracy in God's divine grace or divine,
His power.
Yeah.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, I would say that, yeah, God made it penetrable.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
That's the answer.
Yeah, and he would have been close enough. He probably would have been 30 feet away or 20 feet
Yeah.
away. It'd have been like getting
No,
hit
that makes
by
sense.
308 or something.
I guess maybe the word that I should have used whenever you'd asked me to describe his armor and stuff like that, they felt like they were invincible.
Yeah.
And even Satan feels like that, I think, a lot of times, is that there's nothing you can do to defeat him. And Goliath was the same thing. I'm invincible. Well, you can have a brass helmet on, and you're still not invincible when it comes to God. Brass is soft anyway.
That's
Probably
true.
threw a rock right through it.
That's right. Malleable. David
Invincible.
reshaped
He
it.
thought he was invincible, but not when it comes to God.
That's right. Yeah. It was malleable at least on the 40th day.
That's right.
Well, Joe, about that 40 day, I was thinking back to what the 12 spies.
Mm-hmm.
It was at the end of the 40 days, he sent the spies out, and 10 of them were too afraid because there were giants in the land.
Oh, interesting.
And even with Jesus, after his 40 days in the wilderness, then he faced Satan. I'm sure there's some kind of connection there.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, it's very connected. And if you read Revelation, you're going to read this story one more time or two.
It is in there. It's in there.
Yeah.
Who beat Goliath?
Yeah.
God. Who beat Satan? God. Who wins in the end? God.
Anything else? Anybody got anything?
What's next?
I went over. I didn't look.
Okay.
I was focused on this one. I was trying to get stuff. I wouldn't have done this much, but I knew I was going to have a bigger group. So, anything else? Comments, questions? Appreciate everybody. David and Ashley and everybody else that brought stuff. It was good. If there's anything left, I'm going to get it. All right. You guys be safe going home. Anybody have any prayer requests or anything that we need to talk about?
If we gotta remember the people in nursing homes and hospitals, because when you're in that situation, it just seems hopeless in a lot of ways. In the military, you're exposed, and the veterans, they live in a lot of turmoil and guilt, so we should always remember them. And the people here, their safety, and may they get a blessing today for being here. The ones that couldn't be here, we need to reach out and bless them too.
Gary, you want to dismiss us in prayer?
Loving Father, thank you again for this blessed day, and the teacher that taught us today. We're thankful for that. Watch over us, Martin, guide and protect us as we go home today. Those that couldn't be here, give them a blessing, let them know we love them. People in nursing homes, hospitals that are sick and need your help, reach out and comfort them. The military, wherever they may be guarded and protected. The veterans that are thinking of suicide, reach out to them, help them. All these things I ask in your son's name, Yeshua the Christ.
Amen. All right. Thank you.
Oh, she's away. She's that's all right.
Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, David.
I'm gonna ask you one question. When it comes in Hebrew in the Old Testament, which is